As Canada braces for U.S. tariffs to hit as early as next week, some officials in Washington gathered for Canada Day on Capitol Hill, a yearly event that's taken on a new sense of urgency this year. The CBC's Katie Simpson was there because she's everywhere, and she joins us now. Okay, Katie, I've been to Canada Day. I've never been to Canada Day on Capitol Hill. Tell me about this event. What happened today?
Well, first of all, it's in February. But basically, it's a major engagement day where Canada's ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman, she summons all the senior diplomats that are stationed in the United States to Capitol Hill, and they go on this massive engagement operation. There's usually some sort of public event, which we saw today, which is in the foyer of one of the largest, busiest buildings on Capitol Hill. And basically, they lure people in with free Canada swag, like bath towels and maple syrup and pizza, and then they sort of quarter them and bombard them with anti-tariff messages. And this year's was very, very different. Last year, there was a more upbeat, sort of friendly sort of tone. This was all about addressing complaints made by Donald Trump. So when you walked around this room, there were about a dozen kiosks, and they had experts from the RCMP, from the CBSA, from immigration, from public safety, there to answer any questions any Americans may have had about what Canada is doing to secure the northern border, what it's doing to fight fentanyl, and all of these different things. So they lure them in with a slice of pizza and then push that agenda right at them. It was largely staffers, but some lawmakers did stop by. But we spoke with Canada's ambassador, Kirsten Hillman. She says this is just one of several events this week. It is a very big week on the Hill. Different consul generals have dozens, like individually, they have dozens of meetings planned. So this is just layer after layer after layer, meeting after meeting after meeting to try and push that agenda, the anti-tariff agenda. But, this is probably going to be one of those things where no one's really going to know what Donald Trump's going to do until Donald Trump finally makes up his mind and the deadline day arrives. Have a listen to what the ambassador had to say.
And I get asked the question, will it be enough? There's one person who can answer that question. But what I do believe Canadians can feel confident is that we are taking these requests very seriously. We are delivering important results, and that is being well received.
So this is really sort of the push that Canada has been engaging with through this entire process. Again, it's sort of that last up to like the minute kind of push. The first tariff deadline is next week. It is March 4th, and that is the tariffs related to border security.
Pizza and swag and spin. Interesting additions to the arsenal against tariffs. So they're bringing the U.S. lawmakers. That's the audience, right? They were part of the event. What did you hear from them?
Well, we did hear, really, it was welcome to hear that not only did it was sort of a welcome and open to Canada's message. Some of the lawmakers we spoke to talked about the longstanding alliance when it comes to defense and security, talking about how trade helps not just Canada and the United States, but Mexico as well, that North American alliance. Have a listen to one Republican from Texas who remains optimistic that there can be a solution here that does not involve tariffs.
We've got a couple little differences, but it's a sheet with a few wrinkles. So we're going to iron those out, and we're going to move forward because Americans, at the end of the day, absolutely love Canadians, and I think vice versa. Sometimes it's the sibling rivalry gone a little wrong, but we need to get it back on track, and I'm fully confident we can do that.
So that's a bit of optimism from one Republican from Texas who does not want to see these tariffs imposed and is very open to the Canadian message and thinks this moment is just about border security. We did speak with another Republican who's also against tariffs, who's deeply interested in maintaining the national security cooperation between Canada and the United States. He is a Republican from California, but as we were having a conversation, sort of asking him what he thinks Canadians can do to try and convince Donald Trump, because Trump is ultimately the one who's going to make the decision here, he decided to crack a Canada being annexed joke. Have a listen.
The first thing you do is tell President Trump that as a 51st state, Montreal wants to be a 52nd state.
The thing is, those Canada jokes, they land real flat in Canada right now.
Well, and that's why I was dead serious. The fact that you speak two languages isn't missed by somebody who's been to Canada many times. I had factories in Quebec. Canada, like the United States, is a very large nation. It's not our 51st state.
So if you want to get a sense of what some lawmakers, what maybe perhaps some of the Team Canada effort is hearing behind the scenes, that is on par with what I heard on Friday when I was at the National Governors Association and we interviewed the Democratic governor of Connecticut, and he too cracked a 51st state joke. There isn't a sense of just how angry Canadians are about it, and these lawmakers think they're being funny when Canadians are so mad.
Part of me wonders if that should be reassuring, Katie, that because the critical mass of American politics isn't taking this as a very serious must-accomplish objective, so they're unaware, which means it isn't a real thing, but I don't know, right? It's also kind of dismissive and offensive, too. But there's this weird dynamic about this because the 51st state was brought up again in the Oval Office today, which has expanded who it allows as media into the Oval Office. Tell us about what happened there.
Yeah, have a listen. The question itself is probably more interesting than the answer because we've heard Donald Trump say it over and over and over again. But I believe the individual who, the reporter's name is Brian, and I sent a little note to the Ottawa office right now. I'm just going to pull up what I sent just to make sure that I've got all my... So if it is Brian Glenn, I believe who it is, he is a reporter for an alt-right media outlet, and he has unfettered access to the White House. He's been getting prominent positions to ask questions of Caroline Leavitt, and we know that there's a significant change happening within the White House right now in terms of who's allowed into the White House, who's allowed to ask questions, and which outlets are getting attention. A lot more of the alt-right media ecosystem is getting involved. But have a listen. I believe this is who it is, Brian. Have a listen to the question and then Trump's response.
Last week, I spent some time with two government officials for Canada. I was asking them how realistic is it that Canada would be the 51st state, and they told me there is a path. Alberta is first, and if they sign on, Saskatchewan would follow, and then you go west to British Columbia. There is a movement in Canada to join us. I want to get your thoughts on that and how that's proceeding right now.
So it's true. Thank you, Brian. It's true. A lot of people in Canada are liking becoming our beautiful, cherished 51st state. They'll have to pay much lower taxes. They'll have the ultimate security. You know, they don't pay very much for security right now because they rely on us, which is really unfair to us. They make cars that we could make, and they send them back into the United States. They make a lot of things, including the sending of oil and everything. We don't need their oil. We don't need their lumber.
Okay.
So just to give you a sense of what's happening and the type of question that is being posed by Trump-friendly media, that is certainly something worth noting.
Yeah, Brian Glenn, he is with Right Side Broadcasting Network and is in a relationship with Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman. So there's a lot of layers to all of that. Katie, thank you. A regular American update from Katie, CBC's Katie Simpson in Washington.